Everyone wants change, but most people wait for motivation. What if the real secret isn't doing more? It's showing up daily, even when you don't feel like it. In this video, we explore the Stoic path to transformation through quiet discipline, daily action, and the power of consistency. You'll see how Marcus Aurelius built resilience not through intensity, but by returning again and again to what mattered most. So if you're tired of starting over, this is where you learn how to keep going. 1. Why Stoics value consistency. Over intensity, we live in a world obsessed with breakthroughs, viral success, overnight transformations, massive action. But Stoicism takes a different view. It's not the intensity of your efforts that defines you. It's the consistency. The Stoics believe that character is built not in rare, grand gestures, but in repeated, daily choices. Marcus Aurelius didn't become wise because of one great speech or one perfect day. He became wise because he showed up. Every single day, in thought, in discipline, in action. He didn't wait for inspiration. He didn't need perfect conditions. He wrote, he reflected, and he lived by principle, even when it was hard, even when he didn't feel like it. That's the essence of Stoic strength, reliability. Being someone who doesn't just know what's right, but practices it, repeatedly, quietly, purposefully, and that's why consistency matters more than intensity. Anyone can have a good day. Anyone can push hard once. But who are you when no one's watching? What do you do when motivation fades? The Stoic answer: you show up anyway. Not because it's easy, not because it's exciting, but because it's who you've chosen to be. And when you commit to that, when you keep showing up day after day, something powerful happens. You stop waiting for change and start becoming it. Number 2. How Marcus Aurelius showed up, even under pressure. It's one thing to stay consistent when life is calm, but what about when everything around you is falling apart? Marcus Aurelius didn't practice Stoicism in a monastery or on a quiet mountain. He practiced it in the heart of chaos, as Emperor of Rome, during times of war, betrayal, plague, and political unrest. Every day brought uncertainty. Every decision carried weight. And yet, he showed up. Not just in duty, but in character. He journaled, not for praise, but to stay grounded. He reflected, not because he had spare time, but because he didn't have time to drift. In meditations, he wrote not to teach others, but to remind himself. Show up. Stay steady. Lead with virtue, not emotion. Even under pressure, he didn't make excuses. He didn't wait for things to settle down before returning to his values. He made his values the reason he stayed steady in the storm. That's what makes consistency powerful. Not that it's easy, but that it holds when life doesn't. You may not rule an empire, but you have your own pressures, deadlines, family, struggles, uncertainty. The question is, will you let them shake you? Or will you, like Marcus, return to your practices, your values, your path? Because strength isn't about being unaffected. It's about showing up anyway, especially when it's hard. 3. The myth of motivation and what to rely on. Instead, we've been told to wait for motivation, that when the feeling strikes, then we'll act. But Stoicism warns us, motivation is unreliable, it's fleeting, it's emotional. And if you depend on it, you'll live a life of delay, inconsistency, and regret. Marcus Aurelius never wrote about motivation. He didn't wait to feel like doing what was right. He acted because it was right. He once reminded himself at high dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being. That's not motivation. That's duty. That's clarity. That's discipline. Motivation may start a journey, but only discipline sustains it. And discipline isn't loud. It's not exciting. It's the quiet, steady force that keeps you walking when the novelty fades. It's showing up when it's raining, when you're tired, when you'd rather do anything else. Stoicism teaches us to build systems, not wait for sparks, to commit to routines, to values, to habits that pull us forward, even when we don't feel like it. Especially when we don't feel like it, because what you do consistently matters far more than what you do occasionally. So stop waiting for a feeling. Start building a rhythm. Replace motivation with intention. And you'll discover that showing up doesn't just become easier, it becomes who you are. Number 4. How habits create identity and internal trust. What you do occasionally shapes your results, but what you do consistently shapes your identity. Stoicism teaches that character isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, one action at a time. And that building happens through habits, not just big ones, but small, repeated choices that become part of how you live. Marcus Aurelius didn't become a Stoic philosopher through one noble decision. He built that identity through daily reflection, through returning over and over to his journal, his values, and his responsibilities, even when it was hard, even when no one saw it. Every time you follow through on what you say you'll do, even something simple, you send a powerful message to yourself. I can trust me. That's internal trust. And once you have it, it changes everything. You stop overthinking. You stop second-guessing. You act with clarity, not confusion. Because you've trained yourself to follow through, not based on how you feel, but based on who you are. Your habits are proof, not to others, but to yourself. They're a mirror of what you really value, what you're becoming, and what you can depend on when everything else feels uncertain. So don't underestimate the power of the small. A 5-minute practice done daily carries more weight than an hour-long ritual done once a month. Because in the end, your habits don't just create your outcomes, they create you. Number 5. The relationship between consistency and discipline. Discipline isn't about being harsh with yourself. It's about being honest and consistent. Most people think discipline is about pushing harder, forcing yourself to grind. But Stoicism reveals a quieter truth. Discipline is simply the ability to stay committed to what you said you'd do, especially when the feeling that made the decision is long gone. Marcus Aurelius understood this. He didn't romanticize effort. He respected routine. He knew that greatness wasn't built through passion, but through persistence. He showed up because it was aligned with who he wanted to be, not because it always felt good. Consistency is the expression of discipline, and discipline is the bridge between intention and action. You don't need to be the most talented. You don't need bursts of genius. You need rhythm. And rhythm is built through practice, repetition, and commitment. On the days it's easy, and especially on the days it's not. Each time you choose consistency over comfort, you build your will. You reinforce who you are. And slowly, your life begins to reflect the strength of that discipline. So don't wait for the perfect mood. Build the habit of showing up, calmly, faithfully, without drama. Because when discipline becomes your rhythm, consistency becomes your power. And in the Stoic life, power isn't noise. It's quiet, focused action.
Number 6.
Why small but daily is more powerful than big but rare. In our culture, we're taught to aim for big wins, grand efforts, breakthrough moments. But Stoicism reminds us, real change doesn't come from intensity. It comes from consistency. It's not the one-time, all-out effort that defines you. It's what you do daily, when no one sees, when you're not inspired, when it would be easier to skip it. Marcus Aurelius didn't become wise by writing a single great entry in Meditations. He wrote every day. He returned to the same values, the same reminders, the same questions, not because he was weak, but because he was human. And he knew that the human mind needs repetition to stay on course. Small but daily builds something that big but rare never can: momentum. Think about it. What's more powerful? One perfect workout once a month, or 10 minutes a day of movement? One deep conversation once a year, or checking in daily with someone you love? The Stoics knew that identity is forged in repetition. Each small action may feel insignificant, but over time it becomes who you are. Consistency compounds. It builds self-trust. It anchors you when life gets turbulent, and it gives you a quiet edge, the kind of strength that doesn't shout but endures. So forget the heroic moment. Focus on the daily rhythm. That's where your transformation lives.
Number
7. Overcoming emotional resistance with routine. There will always be days when you don't feel like it. Days when you're tired, overwhelmed, uninspired, or just off. The Stoics didn't pretend those days wouldn't come. They expected them, and they had a strategy: routine. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You don't love yourself enough. Otherwise, you'd love your nature too and what it demands of you." He wasn't talking about forcing productivity. He was reminding himself that resistance is normal, and that what matters is how you respond to it. Emotional resistance is sneaky. It tells you to wait for the perfect mood. It whispers that it's okay to skip your values just for today. But that's exactly when routine becomes your lifeline. When you build habits tied to your identity, not your emotions, you no longer need to debate with yourself every morning. You don't need motivation. You follow the rhythm you've created. Your routine becomes a refuge, something steady in a world of emotional ups and downs. Even a simple ritual, 5 minutes of journaling, a short walk, a focused breath, can help you reclaim momentum. Not because it's life-changing in the moment, but because it keeps you moving. And when you keep moving, resistance loses power. You don't wait to feel ready. You act to become ready. That's the Stoic way. Not pushing harder, just showing up, again and again until the noise fades and clarity returns.
Number
8. How showing up daily builds. Resilience and inner peace resilience isn't built in grand moments of heroism. It's built quietly, in the repetition of small acts, done consistently, even when it's hard. That's the Stoic way. You don't wait for peace to arrive. You build it, one disciplined step at a time. Marcus Aurelius showed up every day, not because he always felt strong, but because he understood something powerful. Consistency is a form of strength. Every time he reflected in meditations, it was a return to center, a reminder of what he could control and what he could release. When you show up daily, whether through journaling, work, reflection, or physical effort, you're doing more than checking a box. You're telling yourself, I'm dependable, and that self-dependability builds internal peace. Because you're no longer at the mercy of chaos. You're anchored in purpose. Life will shake you. But the daily practice, the quiet return to your values, gives you something unshakable. That's resilience. You won't always see progress in the moment. Some days will feel flat, others frustrating. But each time you return, you're reinforcing a deeper truth. I don't quit on myself. And over time, that truth becomes a refuge. It becomes a quiet kind of peace, not flashy or emotional, but rooted, durable. Because the more you show up, the less you need life to be perfect. And the more you realize you already have what you need inside.
Number
9. Using reflection to maintain momentum and adjust consistency is powerful. But without reflection, it can become mechanical. The Stoics understood this well. That's why daily reflection was core to their practice, not to judge themselves, but to stay aligned, to learn, and to adjust. Marcus Aurelius didn't just write to document his thoughts. He wrote to examine his behavior, to ask himself, did I live today with virtue? Did I allow emotions to lead me? Where did I improve? And where did I fall short? This kind of reflection isn't about perfection. It's about momentum. Because what you reflect on, you refine. You begin to notice patterns, what pulls you off course, what strengthens you, and what's no longer serving your purpose. Reflection brings awareness, and awareness empowers choice. Even 5 minutes at the end of your day can redirect your entire path. Not by rewriting the past, but by reshaping tomorrow. You might realize your routines need adjusting, that something small is draining you, or that you've made quiet progress you hadn't seen until now. That's the power of pause, of looking inward, so you can move forward more intentionally. And when you build that habit of reflecting, refining, and continuing, you don't just maintain consistency, you elevate it. Because showing up is step 1, but showing up with insight, that's where growth lives.
Number
10. Consistency is not about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about showing up, not when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. That's where resilience is built. That's where peace begins. Marcus Aurelius didn't seek dramatic change. He sought daily alignment. He believed in returning again and again to what mattered most: discipline, duty, and inner clarity. And through that quiet return, he became one of the most enduring thinkers in history. The lesson is simple, but powerful. Show up, do the work, trust the process. Don't wait for motivation. Don't chase massive change. Start small and stay steady. Whether it's 5 minutes of reflection, 1 act of courage, or a quiet choice to honor your values, what matters is that you return. Because when you return daily, you become dependable. To your practice, to your purpose, to yourself. And as Marcus Aurelius once wrote, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Let that guide you, not just today, but every day. The Stoics understood that showing up day after day builds more than habits. It builds character. And in a world that changes fast and often, consistency is what grounds you. The lesson is simple. Show up, not when it's easy, but when it's meaningful. Because real transformation doesn't happen in loud moments, but in quiet commitment. If this message resonated with you, reflect on one small way you can show up today, then commit to doing it again tomorrow. Subscribe for more Stoic insights. Leave a comment with one daily habit you're working on, and share this video with someone who needs a reminder to stay steady.